After he got his dollars, 50 Cent turned into Curtis Jackson Esquire, proving that a thug ain't nothing but a sellout in disguise. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, 1987. Learn lessons about life and teenage love in the 1980s in this coming-of-age John Haynes story. Get your copy of John Haynes 1987 in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Rapper 50 Cent is warning that Los Angeles is finished after the city reinstated its no bail policy. Really, brother? Now, the reason why I'm laughing isn't because I disagree with Curtis Jackson's talking points. It's because he's the one making these claims. Now, a Los Angeles judge decided to reinstate Los Angeles's no bail policy, and after he made this reinstatement of this policy, this is where Curtis 50 Cent Jackson Esquire decided to warn everyone that Los Angeles is finished as a city after it reinstated its no bail policy for non-violent offenses like shoplifting. Now, as a resident of New York, I have to agree with Curtis 50 Cent Jackson Esquire that this Los Angeles is basically finished after bringing back this no bail policy, because similar policies that were presented here in New York by former Governor Andrew Cuomo and former Mayor Bill de Blasio basically turned New York City from one of the world's safest cities that everybody wanted to come to back into a hellhole similar to that of the 1970s and 1980s. And as New York City was transformed back into this hellhole because of bail reform policies and policies that stated that people would not be prosecuted for participating in crimes like shoplifting of items under $1,000, what has happened is life here in New York has basically become a horror show, and most people are looking to pack up their bags and leave New York City. And Curtis Jackson Esquire is one of those individuals who basically, after being a lifelong resident of New York City, has decided to go out here, and after he got rich, instead of dying trying, he's decided to go pack his bags and move to Houston now that New York's tax policies have made things untenable for him. And that's where Curtis 50 Cent Jackson Esquire has showed the world how much of a hypocrite he is, because it was Curtis 50 Cent Jackson back in the day who would have been one of the pookies who would have basically benefited from those bail reform policies that were presented by the de Blasio and Cuomo administrations back in 2019 and implemented in 2020. Because it just shows how much Curtis Jackson has basically sold out, and how he's basically sold out all of the people who have been out here supporting his music in the black community. Because your Curtis Jackson, many years ago, he was one of these guys who was out here pushing the rock, selling the poison to black people, and then later programming people with poison, as he was out here talking about how he was a gangster rapper. But now that he's gotten rich and hasn't died trying, what he wants to do is now pack up his bags and move to a red state. And as he moves to that red state as Curtis Jackson Esquire, what he wants to do now is talk about how cities like Los Angeles and New York are finished. And what he wants to do is go out here and be a part of the so-called elite, showing me how Curtis Jackson is nothing more than a sellout. Because for him to say Los Angeles is finished when he was out here being a part of the demolition crew that was doing damage to New York City's black communities by, one, selling that poison to black people, and two, going out here and promoting a programmed message that taught young brothers and sisters that crime was the way. It just takes a lot of audacity for him to talk about a bail reform policy when he, again, was one of those Pookies and one of those Ray Rays or one of those Sharkeishas who was out here, going out here, living foul and moving dirty in these streets. He was out here, again, moving the weight, pushing the rocks, and then after he moved the weight and pushed the rocks, then he got up here and rapped and romanticized all of that crime in his music. But he wants us to think, oh, Los Angeles is finished, but you were an architect of demolishing most of black lives in inner city neighborhoods like the one you came from. And the way he's sounding to me basically shows me, again, not only is he a sellout, but he is now drinking the Kool-Aid of the white supremacist and now parroting back many of the things that the white supremacist has said. Now, your Curtis Jackson is one of these guys who basically has gone from being a guy in the street, going out here selling poison to his people and promoting a criminal lifestyle, to being that black bootlick who goes out here and tells black people to go out here and pull themselves up by their bootstraps. And that's what I see when I listen to Curtis Jackson talking about how Los Angeles is finished as related to this bail reform policy. I mean, he's sitting here, going out here, telling us that the city is finished. But again, you were a part of that crime. You were a part of that life. And you were now, as a person, instead of looking to go out here and create policy to help black people, you are out here looking to run away from the very community that you were a part of being the architect of destroying. And as you run away, you want to say that that city of Los Angeles is finished, but don't want to talk about what you did in New York. And that basically shows me how Curtis 50 Cent Jackson has transformed into Curtis Jackson Esquire, and Curtis Jackson Esquire is no different than a black bootlick like a Roland Martin, and he's basically sold out the black community not once but twice. He sold the black community out the first time when he was out here selling them drugs, and he sold it out when he started promoting gangster rap, and now he's selling it out, I would even say, a third time, because now he's looking to go out here and run away from the very community he helped destroy, and now he's running into the arms of the white supremacists, like many of these people on the far right. And he's sitting here talking about how he's supporting Donald Trump, showing me that he's basically a turncoat and a race traitor, a complete sellout who has transformed from the so-called real brother into a real bootlick, and sitting here talking about, oh, the city of Los Angeles is going to fall completely apart. Well, what did you do here in New York once you got rich and were able to live after you came out here and got to the top? How many black people did Curtis 50 Cent Jackson put on after he got rich? How many black-owned businesses did he go out here and support, like my SJS Direct Imprint? How many black people did he give opportunities to? How many black people did he go out here and give a hand to or give jobs to? That's the critical question I want to ask Curtis 50 Cent Jackson before you left and ran to Houston to go out here and take advantage of Texas's low tax base and low crime after making New York a hellhole for most New Yorkers. How many black people did you help out as related to providing tangible resources to? Critical question I gotta ask your Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, who's sounding more and more like a bootlicking sellout, no different than Roland Martin or Stephen A. Smith. I mean, it's sounding more like he's more like those guys, and what's the only difference between them is that they have a pedigree as related to academia, and he's coming from the streets, but they have the same talking points and push the same narratives And I guarantee you, sooner or later, we're going to hear Curtis Jackson Esquire sitting there talking about black folks need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, while he was the one out here dropping anchors on them by pushing rock to his own people and promoting gangster culture to black people that really is white supremacy in disguise, because gangster culture is something made up by white supremacists in a corporate boardroom, not a way of life. But he's going to sit there and talk about Los Angeles. And again, I have my issues with those people in LA from the being run by the Blue Party, because they were the ones who reinstated this bail reform law. It makes absolutely no sense. And again, I will agree that Curtis Jackson is right on that point, that it's going to destroy that city, because that's what happened here in New York. But he is the one sitting up here talking this mess, showing us how much of a sellout he is and a hypocrite he is, because while he says one thing about this city being finished, he's running to a red state. And as he runs to that red state, we see that he's nothing but yellow. And again, just making the final transformation into a black bootlick. And as he makes the final transformation from so-called quote-unquote real brother to bootlick, we see that he's all about parroting the same talking points that white supremacists talk about, and he's all about speaking against many of his own people. And I again find it interesting that Curtis Jackson, who would be considered a Pookie, who was going to benefit from that bail reform law, is the one speaking against the bail reform laws that basically put him and guys like him back out on the streets to terrorize neighborhoods. And as he's out here looking to go out here and close the door on those same Pookies and Ray Rays that he was cool with back in the day, he's the one looking to, again, go out here and talk about how they're going to ruin a city, when he don't want to talk about how he ruined New York City and the neighborhood that he came from. But he's the one sitting up there talking about, oh, we all need to get rid of these policies. And yeah, you do need to get rid of these policies, these leftist policies, these progressive policies that really don't benefit anyone, because these policies, again, what they do is give passes to irresponsible, reckless, and egregious behaviors from Pookies and Ray Rays, and they take away a boundary that makes these individuals think twice before they go out here and do some dumb stuff like going to a Target and stealing all of this stuff. And that makes it where the store gets so much shrink that they wind up leaving the neighborhood, taking jobs away from brothers and sisters. That's what happens as related to these types of situations. But again, you have Curtis Jackson, again, talking all of this mess. And some people will sit there and say, oh, maybe he's learned some things. No, he's learned the anatomy of a sellout. And again, sold out his own community, ran away from his own community, and now wants to talk a lot of mess about another city, when, again, he was the one who would be receiving the benefits from these policies, and again, receive benefits by promoting oppression and terrorism in black communities. And now that he's a part of the after oppressing black people by selling poison to them, he now wants to join the oppressor class as a part of the bootlick class of white supremacy, showing me how completely full of it Curtis 50 Cent Jackson Esquire is. And now that he's established, he wants to, again, not go out here and help another brother up the ladder. What he wants to do is burn the ladder down, no different than Clarence Thomas, and ensure nobody else comes up to his level, because like Clarence Thomas and Roland Martin, he basically wants to be an H-nice, and he wants to be an H-nice, and he wants to be the center of attention for most of these white folks. Again, showing me that the street dude is no different than the educated dude, and looking to sell out his own community when they are bootlicks, and looking to go out here and gain the same favor from those same white racists who are a part of white supremacy on the left and the right, showing me that your so-called gangster rapper is no different than any of these other assorted criminals looking to go, again, sell out those in their communities. And again, this is the worst type of crime, because they not only go out here and destroy black communities, they go out here and try to reap benefits from oppressing black people and keeping black people as part of a permanent underclass while they go out here and live the high life at our expense. And that's the thing that disgusts me the most about Curtis Jackson Esquire, formerly known as 50 Cent. I mean, he's made all of this money, but sadly he shows me he hasn't changed a bit as related to his values, and he was a sellout from day one, and he's a sellout right now as he's now looking to move out of New York and looking to go out here and move to greener pastures on the backs of all black people. And again, this is the type of dude black people elevated as a hero, but he's showing us all the true villain he truly is. Now, if you want to pick up some of my positive black fiction on the SJS Direct imprint, you can find the books of the John Haynes series, the books of the Isis and Esteem series, the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, my vampire novel Eternal Night, my sorority novel The Thetas, and my black business novel Recipe for Success, along with my men's issues books. You can find all those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can send a donation to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Godbreaker. The man who rules the world takes on the Asgardian god of thunder in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes, Godbreaker in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Support black-owned and black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.